Hello ladies and gentlemen, everybody in between. I'm alone in Finland and this is EVE Online. Now, I made a video about multiplexing versus multiboxing and there was a lot of comments and some things that needed to be clarified. And I want to say this right up front because there is something that is really important that needs to come out because I was not made aware of it in my last account, even though I had actually asked about several things to do with this. So, the first thing before we get into anything else is I showed something on the last video. And this is what I showed. This is my setup at home. I have, as you know, two computers that are in the dual system, and I have three screens connected to them. So center and left hand screen are one computer, the top right screen is another computer. And as I said in the previous video, that would actually allow me, as you can see here, to log in three separate accounts, two in Omega and one in Alpha. Now, somebody questioned that. I don't want to put the person's name up because I don't want to attach to them, but you can see them down in the comments. I'm leaving the last video up and I'm just putting this as a link right over that section. I've already, as you can see here, I've said an important mistake in the description. I want to make sure that everybody is aware of this because this was something that was discussed but not mentioned by CCP. So I want to make sure that this is all up and accurate and everybody's getting the right information, because the last thing I want is my mistake to cause you a problem. So in this setup, there's two EVE accounts running. The two EVE accounts are in Omega, they're on one PC, and if you log in an Alpha account, it won't allow you to log in any other accounts. And what I had been brought to believe, because of what had been linked, was that if it was on different PCs it didn't matter. And obviously this had been discussed with people that are responsible for these bans and nobody had mentioned anything. So that being said, the person in the comments mentioned this, and I went and actually had a look at the EULA and a few other things, and as I went through the rules I couldn't find it straight away until I got to the EULA. So this is the EULA. And sections under this requirements to play section, your account, and it says very specifically, you are however not allowed to play EVE by using more than one account at the same time unless you pay for a subscription fee for the accounts that you intend to use for that purpose. Now luckily this means that from what I had put up, I can't get banned because I put it up as a display and I wasn't actively playing it. And fun fact, just because I have a friend that's a legal professional of quite a seniority where I live, who knows a lot about EVE Online, and one of the things that they were specifically saying is that the way that this is written, it actually, because it says pay a subscription and nowhere else does it sort of define the subscription, that if you're actually plexing or you're paying for your account like one time only, that could actually not be counted as a subscription. Now, I'm not saying they're going to ban you for that. They're never going to do that. I'm just saying that this is actually sort of worded in a less than accurate way. Because under EU law, if there is any vagueness in a contract, the decision comes down onto the side of the person who didn't write the contract. So that was just a funny little aside for that. But that specifically says, this says you need to pay a subscription for each of your accounts you intend to use for playing EVE. So you need to be in Omega if you're running multiple accounts. It doesn't say about multiple computers or anything like that. You need to be paying. So if you have an Alpha account, you can use one account at one time. Now, I don't actually use any of my Alphas at the same time as my Omegas. I have two Alphas and they just sort of sit there. And essentially it's because I've had four accounts and I just sort of kept them going. I had originally sold the clients off from those accounts and I thought it'd be interesting to go back through some stuff and sort of rebuild clients off of them, and that's just why they happen to be sat there. One of them I was using in Alpha state specifically for doing faction warfare because I was curious about it, and now that same account is being used to do this, to do an Alpha series about just general progression in it. So that's why I've got them there, but I only ever use, aside from that purpose, I only ever use my two accounts on this computer. I use them at the same time, and as I showed before, I have one mining and one that I'm actively playing at the same time because the miner is in a high sec system that's fairly safe. fairly safe. There's no complete safety. So with that out of the way, because I wanted to make sure that was crystal clear and everybody got that information, I want to talk about some of the other things that people have been going on, because although I sort of titled the previous video multiboxing versus multiplexing, a lot of people have come back and said, oh no, I am multiboxing and I don't agree with the fact that I would be banned, or some words to that effect. I didn't say anything about banning multiboxing. I didn't say that it was a forbidden activity. In fact, I specifically showed the fact that I had 2 accounts open, one mining and one to play at the same time, and I talk about this regularly. I don't generate ISK off of that in the way that people do, so I don't fund my accounts that way. I'm not in any corporations. My second account is in a corporation of its own creation, just because I made it ages ago and it's like sentimental value that I keep it going, but it's not something that generates any ISK for me. I use it for minerals, for building stuff, because I do some industrial stuff, but I don't make enough money because I don't play EVE enough to be able to sort of fund my account through Plex. I have this month on the main account that you're watching just now, funded it through Plex because I'm absolutely skint after Christmas. But that's just sort of a personal choice, and I wouldn't advise that for anybody, especially in my situation, because it's if you're not in a corporation and you don't have good resources behind you, it's very difficult to make that level of cash on a single account to be able to fund it, as opposed to the hour to 2 hours at work it would take to generate the same amount of money. It would sort of take more time in the game, and I don't see the point of grinding that way to do that. So some of the comments that were actually sort of in defense of the people and saying you can't work this out. I want to explain this because in around about 2006-2007 there was a very big presentation in EVE Online where they were actually talking about catching all of the botters, and they were talking about how the original one was just people, like, you click here, you click here, you click there, they set up their environment and they were just going and mining. And this has evolved over time, different programs have come out, but the part that I'm talking about is very specific. There is a group of people that are multiplexing, so they have multiple accounts open on their account and they are broadcasting their clicks to those multiple accounts. So for instance, when they click on something, like your man here, and they click target, everybody's targeting at the exact same time. What I can see as an external person is when they activate their weapons. And the person that I'm talking about, by the way, not the same one that everybody linked and everybody was talking about, I didn't know about him because I'd sort of been out of the game at that point. But yeah, there is I'm not going to mention his name and I'll explain why in a second, but there is somebody that everybody kept linking that has been caught in multiple videos. There's tons of videos showing him doing this exact thing, and it's a very good example. But the person that I saw, I originally saw them doing it with 8 accounts. I saw them get absolutely trashed with 8 accounts, but then I saw them attacking somebody, and I was witnessing some stuff in Nakugard, and I was witnessing some stuff in, I've forgotten the name of the system, but it's the main ganking system between Heck and Jita. It's closer to Jita, that is in HiSec. And I've actually added some of these accounts and I was following them because I was curious of what's going on. And I saw your man gank a freighter, and I witnessed it. I was literally on a gate when this happened, and that's what caught me. And that's why I know that it's multiplexing as opposed to multiboxing, because of the activation times. So the quick TLDR for this is that EVE has a tick cycle of 1 second. So every action that you put in, no matter how many milliseconds, if you put it in within that 1 second, it will broadcast in 1 second. There is a possibility because of latency that it skews it. However, it works client side to server side. So for instance, you could put in multiple actions at the same time, but because of the routes that the packets take to get to the server, they might be initiated on the server at slightly different times. If you've ever activated 2 modules with both fingers at the same time but seen them slightly activate off kilter as they get to the server, that's possible. The other way around doesn't happen. So if you activate multiple modules at like with a second's difference, you won't see them all activate at the same time unless there's a massive server lag. There is a possibility, but it's not something that will repeatably happen. Then we get into clicks per second, and let's talk about this, because there is a lovely woman who holds the record. That's Barbara Blackburn. She holds the record for the fastest typist in the world. And in the Guinness Book of Records, you've got this here, 150 words per minute over 50 minutes. And it was 37,500 keystrokes. If you divide that by seconds, that's 11 keystrokes per second. It's just over 11. It's not 12. Right? Then, if you actually have a look on it, and it takes too much to get into, but there's a Guinness Book of Records for the maximum amount of button presses, and a few different people have contested for this. But if you're just talking about smashing a single button, the absolute maximum a human has ever been able to achieve was 16. There are multiple people that claim this same title, but that's the limit, 16. Now, when you are multiplexing, when you are multiboxing, you are switching between accounts and you are pressing buttons. So you want to press a button, open up whatever it is. You want to press another button. So you want to activate your modules, switch account, activate your modules, switch account, activate your modules, switch account. If you're going at the fastest a human has ever pressed a button, that means that 16 individual button presses, assuming you're activating one module or you've got all your stuff linked together. So that's one button press for the module, one button press for the switching of the account if you're not alt-tabbing, if you've got it down to a single key to switch, which means that you can hit 16 maximum in a second. And that's where it comes in, because the person that I've seen has been running 18 accounts. Has been running 8 accounts the first time that I saw them, but I've seen them run with 22 accounts, and I've seen your person who was linked to us doing it with multiple accounts as well, and there is somebody that's actually got a video of people doing it with 25 accounts. And these people are not just opening fire, they're scamming, they're webbing all at the same time from all of the ships that are all identical, and it's all happening instantly. So it's all happening on the same server tick, which means that that is hundreds of inputs at the same time. That's not one person doing that. That is broadcasting. That is one person clicking one button and 22 accounts registering that same click at the same time. And that's how it's happening. And this is why I'm saying that it's so easy to detect, because CCP has said to me it's not easy. And I'm sat there going, I watched your original presentation. I know how easy it is to detect this. I know how your server logs work. I've actually seen them firsthand, so I know what they record. So I know what is going on in their back end and what is recorded, and I know what programs they have for detecting bottles because of the ones that they have actually talked about. So when I'm saying this not from a position of a developer, but not from a position of somebody entirely ignorant of the system. I know the physical limitations of a human being because the Guinness Book of Records exists. I know the physical requirements, and I know what data they track. So when they're saying we can't track 22 accounts that have been reported to them, that they have the entire logs, including activation times, that they know that not just the fact that they were all activated within the same server tick, but they record at higher detail than the server ticks. So they know that these things were pressed, and they get logs from both client side and server side for these activations, because it's something that they track is to do with lag. So this is what they have. They have all of these details. So when you say these 22 accounts did this, and they go, well, we can't prove it, that's horseshit. Complete and utter horseshit. They can, they're not. And that, to me, is very worrying. So that is the main reason that I sort of came out with this. As I said in the previous video, I know somebody that got banned from this. They got a 3-day ban originally, and then they disappeared. I don't know if they were doing it afterwards, but they were running something that had what I now know as key broadcasting. At the time we were calling it multibotting. But this person was doing this. They got a warning, which is a 3-day ban, and then they got a permanent ban. The ban structure, I think, has changed now. I think it's like a month at first. Don't quote me on that, I'm not looking into it, but what I'm saying is you will get a warning first and then it will be a ban. However, people have linked an account to me that is still active, and that has been doing this since 2020, and I know that they're getting reported because there's a whole load of people going, I reported this person, and Now, I know the one that I saw, which wasn't the same person, and I had reported this guy and then followed him to get a bit more evidence and submitted that, and it hasn't been banned. And I know that anybody looking at the server log, I know what they'll see. So this is what I'm talking about, and this is, I don't know why it's not being addressed, but it's not being addressed. So just making you aware of that. For people that are multiboxing, that are running multiple clients at the same time, rock on. I absolutely love it. When it comes to especially lowsec PvP, I think it's brilliant, because there's a few places I know where people run gate camps and it's one person with 6 different things. And one of the things that's interesting to me is because they don't run this like multiplexers. They run a battleship or 2 tackle ships, and then a couple of remote logistics and things like this. So they're running a little fleet themselves. That takes skill, and it should be admired. Not everybody has the ability to do it, either physically or monetarily, but it's still something that's cool to do, and it's kind of cool that EVE allows this. And if you can run a little fleet solo, then rock on. Not everybody would agree with that sentiment, and I can understand why you wouldn't, especially if you've been a victim of it. I was a victim of it myself on multiple occasions, but your man in Tama, there was a guy who used to run a gate camp there about 5-6 years ago, and he absolutely ganked me. He got me fair and square at one point, so I decided to take on the challenge, and I brought back a triple repped Balgorn and absolutely wrecked the guy. I got 5 out of his 6 ships, including one of his logistics. It was one of his logistics that got away, and that for me was actually one of the best experiences I've ever had in EVE, because taking one battleship into a 1v6 was fantastic. It wasn't actually a 1v6 because it was one guy doing this, and that was actually why I chose to take the fight, because I know that that guy has to switch between multiple clients to keep an eye on a lot of things. So I know that although he's got an advantage in numbers, I've got an advantage in reaction time because I'm dealing with one ship. And if anybody's ever seen the triple rep Balgorn, the thing is just insane. It's fantastic. So that's sort of that. I hope that clears up some of the stuff that I got a little bit wrong in the last time. I also hope that sort of clears up what I'm aiming for with this when I'm talking about this. The multiplexing is my issue, is that people doing things that are completely inhumanly possible, and then that other issue of CCP not doing anything about it, which is particularly aggravating. The fact that people have been doing this for years. One of the names that was linked to me, again, I'm not going to broadcast anything. I don't think you should report these. If you haven't experienced it firsthand, don't report it. But one of the names I know has been reported multiple times over multiple years, and there's video evidence of what they're doing. You can see it straight as day. I think it very funny that they're in a big alliance that is known to have a lot of CCP's staff in that alliance. So that's something that is discouraging to me, because if anything, if I was running a company, that's something that I would not allow. If somebody did that was working for us, or that was aligned to people that are working for us, I would ban them in a heartbeat to make sure that there is no misrepresentation, or there is no, even if it's an unrelated activity, that it doesn't even look bad. So that's that. But yeah, I hope that is a little bit interesting, a little bit more clarification. And I want to say this, everybody that's commented, thank you very much, because as I say, I got information there that I didn't have. I got information there that I didn't get off of the people at CCP, which is, it's fantastic that the community could tell us a little bit more and keep each other safe. And I'd like to keep putting out these videos and things like this. So I think it's a good thing in general to give feedback, to talk about that and express your opinion. I kind of feel a little bit happy at the moment, because I feel a little bit like an actual YouTuber, because I got 3 well actually comments in the past week that were things that I could sort of easily disprove. And I think that's the mark of a YouTuber for a lot of the places that I work, when somebody goes, well, actually, I think you'll find this. And you go, no, these are the actual rules behind it. And I always try and respond in kind. I don't like, in general, I don't like people being mean on the internet to other people. I think you should always be informative and not be an arsehole when you're talking to other people. So I'm always trying to be sort of nice and polite, and sort of, if somebody's incorrect, then correct them on it. And I would like the same done to me. As I said, I put out this video and somebody went, by the way, you should look at this. And they only did it a day or two ago, within the last day actually, where they've put this out. So I wanted to put this correction out nice and quickly because I don't want any incorrect information being out there. And I think it's a good thing in general for us to sort of help each other in the community. I'm a little bit worried, especially with this entire conversation going on. The reason I made the first video was because so many people had recommended me the software for multiplexing, and I was confused because I was going, this was illegal when I first started, what the hell's going on? And obviously I've been out of it for a couple of years, and this seems to explode. There was, I think it was it was either 7 or 9 different people recommended me multiplexing abyssal space to make a ton of money. And I'm sat there going, but that's illegal, is it not? And it's why I reached out to CCP in the first place, and then sort of made the video, because I was going, this actually is illegal. CCP has responded and they've given us some of the information. They could have given us a bit more, but now we know. So I want to make that sort of, that reasoning sort of obvious and out there. And also on reporting, I want to make sure everybody knows this. What was said to me very specifically in the email, because the email was really annoyingly, frustratingly vague when they were talking about this, but what I want to talk about in general, we're just going to jump to the next system. I am just bopping about in 0sec and nobody's popped me in ages. What I would like to talk about, or what I would like to mention, is what they said explicitly, because although the entire email was vague, this part was explicit. If you mass report somebody, or if you encourage people to be mass reported, you can be banned. And this is why I have not mentioned the names of the people. It was not the account that was linked, but thank you for that, because that confused the hell out of me. But it wasn't the account that was linked in the comments, so just be aware of that. But if you are out there with an account name, your Eve account name known, and you are spamming, this person is doing something bad, Eve or CCP would consider it encouraging mass reporting. So it's something to be aware of, because that's a bannable offence in Eve. So I want people to know that you shouldn't be doing that. If you see it firsthand, report it. If you've got video evidence, put it in. I don't know why stuff isn't being dealt with at the moment, but it's worth putting in. However, don't spam the report system. So don't put in 100 reports about the same event. If it happens multiple times, then that's your prerogative to put multiple reports in. But just be aware of that, because I know in the past that CCP has got very pissed off about mass reporting in general, which is why those rules are in there. And I don't want to encourage mass reporting, because I don't want to get nailed for it. I can understand that this guy is hacking, is blatantly multiboxing, multiplexing, but again, encouraging negative behaviour towards another member of the community will result in a ban of you, whether you were right in what they were doing or not. So that's why I'm not saying that name, and why I'm specifically saying it's not the one that was linked. By the way, the first person that put that name in, you confused the life out of me, because I googled it, I couldn't find anything just on that name, and I was like, I have no idea what's going on there. Then somebody else put the comment in as well, and I started to understand what was going on. So thank you for that. It was a little bit of a murder mystery for a while. But yeah, with that all being said, that's me sort of clarification on it. Again, comments, feedback, everything's always enjoyed, and I'll get back to everything. I read through every comment that I can find. At the moment, YouTube's been kind of funny with showing me notifications in my email that I'm getting comments, but then not being able to find them. So please comment, and yeah, I'll just keep this doing. I want to put out a little bit more. At the moment, I am just bouncing through lowsec until somebody pops me, because I've been stuck out here after I got gate camped when I was doing something. So I hope you enjoyed that. I apologise for whinging on about it, but I wanted to make sure that everybody had the right information. And fly safe if that's what you choose to do. Bye. See you next time.